Hi everyone, it's Nicole McGuirk for the August 2014 Lawn Fawn Inspiration Week. And today's card features several of the brand new fall stamp sets from Lawn Fawn. The focus is roughly on the sweater weather stamp set, but I've also implemented the stitched rectangle dies you can see here, as well as the Monster Mash and Spooktacular stamps and dies. Now I am cutting several layers using the stitched rectangles first, and then from a couple of colors of gray cardstock, and then I'm using the stitched hillside borders to create some landscape pieces. The reason I cut them from the stitched rectangles first is I like to have that stitched detailing all the way around the edge. So this way, not only is that stitched hillside have the nice stitched border, but also the two sides and the bottom have that stitching detail as well. Now, I'm going to create my background first, and I am using this really cute spooky fence from an older Lawn Fawn stamp set, and you can see I'm kind of positioning and bending the fence to match the hillside. As it turns out, you don't really see the fence all that much because I had so much going on. You can see a little bit of it, I guess, through I wanted it to be kind of muted. So the vellum, there is a vellum overlay as well with a stitched rectangle die cut. However, I don't think it shows up as well because I have so many little critters and things. I love the idea, and I'm definitely going to file it away to do another time, but it just really got lost on this card. So really that step could have been left out, but I did want to share it so you could kind of see it if you wanted to do something similar and maybe not have quite as much on the forefront of your card. Now, instead of using the stamp of this cute tree, I have simply die cut the tree from some chocolate cardstock without stamping it. So you can use it either way. You can stamp it and die cut it, or you can simply die cut it. I did not want the white border all the way around my trees, so I simply die cut several of them, and I am layering them both in front of and behind the vellum. You can see a little bit here, I'm laying the pieces out as I'm working on them. I wanted to share real quick, I'm not sharing a lot of my coloring on this card, but I did add some fun detail to the eye of this monster with a fine tip red pen, and then the black glazed pen to really highlight the pupil there. So just a fun idea to kind of customize the eye portion of these fun monsters from Monster Mash. I've also stamped and colored and die cut the cute Rest in Peace, which is from Spooktacular, and some of these other monsters, or are these all these monsters rather, I guess I should say, are from the Monster Mash stamp set. And here I'm going to color in the small monster using the same purples I used on the larger one. And there's not as much blending that you need to do on such a small image. So really quick and fast. Again, doing the same thing for the eye with the red detail pen. I'm going to color in one of these other monsters using some pinks. I'm laying down a very light color first and then going in with my mid-tone color, just laying down some color, and then I'll lay down a little bit darker color for some even more shadowing, and I'll go back with my mid-tone to blend that out a little bit, and then go in with my lightest color to blend it all again. Went back with my mid-tone and laid down a little bit more of that, as well as a little bit more of my darkest color, blending it out, just using the same process until I get the exact coloring that I want for my monster. I am going to take my marker now. I'm going to color in the mouth with some red first, and I really like, I guess I'll add some gray there for the feet. I like taking my darkest color and adding some dot detail where I have laid down the darkest shadowing on my colored piece. I think that makes a fun, almost subtle kind of texture type look, adds a lot of dimension to a very flat type of embellishment, stamped embellishment. I'll color in this last little monster. I'm going to do him in some greens. I like these yellow greens. I think they're a little bit deeper and not quite as bright grassy green. So they're really nice for fall type coloring since this is a fall card. Following the same steps as I did for my pink monster where I laid down my lightest color, then I went in with my mid-tone yellow green and then my darkest, and I'll just simply come back out the same way. So after I've laid down that darkest color, I'll go back with my mid-tone and blend it out a little, and then go in with my lightest and really blend it out. And I'll do that as many times as I need to get the desired look. I decided to go in with my warm grays for the wings and the inside of the mouth, and I kind of used a little bit of a feathering technique on those little wings. And I like the grays, but I sort of felt like they were a little bit too much different than the body of my monster. So I went back in with my darkest yellow-green color over the grays, and I really like that. I think it ties it all in. It still gives the illusion of a little bit maybe different texture for the wings, but yet they still have that enough of that greenish color in them to tie them into the monster. Again, I used my darkest color to add that dot detail to him as well. I'm going to grab the coordinating dies for these. I am so happy that all of these have coordinating dies. I love not having to fussy cut any of these adorable little images. Instead, I can just use a little post-it tape to hold my dies in place and run them through my Big Shot, and I've got all these perfectly die-cut images to pop onto my card. I'm ready to start putting my card all together now. I have almost all of the images I need, so I'm going to add a little Wink of Stella Clear glitter brush marker to the moon to really make it shimmer and shine. And then I will start putting together the card. What I need to do is go with my background piece, which is where I have stamped the fence, and I'm going to use a glue pen, a little liquid glue, to attach all of my trees. And I accidentally adhered it a little too low there, but it doesn't matter that I've made a glue mess because that's going to be covered up with the landscape piece, thank goodness. I will adhere these three, and next I'm ready to attach my vellum. I need to make sure that I'm hiding my adhesive, so I've only applied it near the bottom where it's going to be covered up by my landscape. I'll go in with my darkest gray landscape first. I'm going to use some foam adhesive to give this dimension. Line that up with the bottom of the vellum and pop that in place. I'm going to add adhesive behind the light gray as well. This is where I've stamped my greeting. You do want to do that before you add any foam adhesive so that you get a nice crisp stamped greeting. And then I'm going to attach all my trees. I laid them out first to see where I wanted them, and then I will secure them to my card. Now, because the landscaping is dimensional, I'm going to need to add some foam tape to the parts of the back of the trees so that they're dimensional as well, depending on where they go on the card. Because I don't want like the bottom of the tree to be popped up because it's tucked into one of the landscapes, but the top of the tree to lay flat against the card. That would look a little awkward. So the back tree there that I just put in place, that one I could adhere directly to the background, but the other two I've just cut a little bit of foam tape and placed it through the center trunk part of the tree and then adhered that right in place. Once I have all of those background elements down, I can figure out where to tuck in the tombstones and my monsters to really finish off the whole scene. I love creating scene cards. I think they're really fun. I find it kind of a challenge to see how to combine all of these elements to create a complete scene. So I'm kind of moving things around, seeing where I like them, seeing where I think they naturally fit, I guess I want to say. And sometimes that requires moving things around. I wanted to leave this part in just so you could see my process for how I figure out exactly where I want everything to go. Once I have that all figured out, I'm ready to add some liquid adhesive or glue dots. I think I just used a little glue dots on these. As with the trees, some of the monsters and elements that are on the forefront of the card are going to have to be have a little bit of foam adhesive so that they are on the same dimension as whatever layer that I've placed them on. So I've used like glue dots where they're going to be flat, and then maybe a little foam adhesive near the top where they're going to overlap, so that I make sure everything stays nice and dimensional. Now once I have all of my monsters in place and glued down, I am ready to add the finishing touch. And I really thought it would be fun to create even more of a fallish scene, I guess I want to say, with the leaves from the Sweater Weather stamp set. I've used the trees from Sweater Weather, but I really felt like I needed the leaves and I needed some stars in the sky to kind of complete the whole nighttime creepy monster type effect. So from the Spooktacular Stamp Set, I'm taking the tiny star and using Versamark ink and stamping randomly some stars in the background, especially with that moon there in the sky. I felt like there's so much going on the bottom half of this card. The top needed some stuff too, not just that moon. So I'm sprinkling on white embossing powder. I'll shake all that off and heat it up, and I think that just rounds out the top of the card and really adds interest. Finally, this is the Sweater Weather stamp set where I'm stamping all these teeny tiny leaves and the pumpkin. I felt like the smaller size leaves really fit in with the scale of this card better than the larger ones. I say larger, but they're really not that big. But I love that these teeny tiny ones are just the right size, and there's dies, coordinating dies for all of these as well. So it was super easy to cut them all out. I stamped them in fall colors, die cut them, and then glued them in place with a little liquid glue pen. The pumpkin by the tombstone kind of rounds out the whole scene and really gives it that fun fallish Halloween type feel. Again, taking the Wink of Stella Clear glitter pen to add some glitter detailing to those little small pieces, and then I can pop this whole piece on the front of my card and it is finished. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing several of the new Lawn Fawn Fall 2014 stamp sets and dies. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.